Radio then, here we are, setting up a Devon Minnow with a WYE lead. First of all, well, we've got some spare swivels here if we need them, but the WYE lead, this is the WYE lead. WYE lead is shaped like a banana and it has either two swivels, one at each end, or one swivel sometimes with a little clip connector for the leader that goes to your minnow. This is a Devon Minnow. It's a 4-inch, which is a bit big really, but I'm using this so you can see what's going on. And Devon Minnow is double-sided paint. This one's a yellow and green, so it flashes nicely as it rotates in the water. Inside the minnow you will find there is a wire section with a swivel, an olive, and with the old ones you get treble hooks. Now we'll be fishing the River Wye where it's single hooks only, it's mandatory, so we're going to cut two of those off. And the wire's around there, so we're going to take that one off as well, like that. And then, because they are also barbed, we're going to get rid of that barb by crushing it, like that. Now, it would be nice if we could get rid of those as well, because they could damage the fish's mouth. So there we go. There we are. Now a single debarbed setup. And that goes back inside the minnow, like that. Okay, so we've got the WYE lead, we've got the minnow. Get rid of those sharp bits. Okay, we've used the pliers, so we'll put those out the way for now. You need a pair of scissors, and also you're going to need a leader. This is nylon, and it's 23.5 pound. Although nowadays I've been using this stuff, which is a coated high carbon steel wire. You could tie knots in it. This one's a Savage gear. You can get various different types, and this again is 23 pound breaking strength. But it does mean that if we hook into a pike, we're not going to lose our lure. Better for the pike, better for the lures. Okay, the setup. Well, first of all, we have to attach the WYE lead to the main line. Okay, so we're using this small WYE lead, which is probably too small for here. It's only a 3/4 ounce. The optimum weight for the WYE is 2 ounce or a 3 ounce. Now you have to bear this in mind when you're selecting which rod you're going to use, because most spinning rods, 2 ounce is about as max as they can take, so you have to bear that in mind. You may have to use a rod other than a spinning rod for this process. But anyway, this is a 2 ounce with swivels at both ends. This is a 3/4 ounce, and I'm using this one simply for demonstration purposes because it's got this clever little snap swivel here, which means you can change the leader and the minnow quickly and easily. So, tied off, in this case, the braid. Now if you've only got the one swivel, you tie the main line or braid to the end that has not got the swivel, because it's the swivel side that you connect the minnow to. And that is done, as I said, either with nylon, or as I use, this high carbon steel wire. Right, depending on the flow, you want at least 3 feet of this. I go up to 4 feet, so that if you're changing minnows, keep cutting them off, you've still got plenty of extra there. So this stuff, again, cuts with scissors. It's amazing. It's pipe proof, but it cuts with scissors and you can tie knots in it. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, we are going to tie a loop in the end. Now, when I tie my loops, I like to feed them through twice, especially with nylon, because that way you get a much better presentation of the loop. The loop tends to be more upright and try not to cut it. Upright and in line with the line. It doesn't flick off to one side or the other. Now we're just going to trim that off. And I'll take this out of shot. I'm going to put it in my mouth and keep the little off cut, because you don't want those little off cuts going where they shouldn't be going. You want to dispose of them responsibly. Okay, so there's the loop. The loop will eventually go onto there. We'll do that in a minute. Now, the other end, the business end, you can find it easier to slide the mount out of the minnow. Put the line through the minnow and then tie it off. Now, you could tie this off just the same as you can, especially if you can see what you're doing with your glasses on. Tie that off exactly the same as you would with a hook or anything else. 4 or 5 turns round, through the hole, take up the slack. Now I like to use pliers to just grip that. Now I don't know if you're supposed to wet this stuff like you do with nylon, but I do anyway, just in case. What's a bit of spit between friends, eh? And again, we cut that off carefully so as not to lose the tag end. Now there we are, nice and neat, and then the minnow slides back down and goes on the olive. Now you see that can rotate without the hook spinning. It spins round. Now if it winds the leader up, that's not a problem, because you've got another swivel before the weight. And if I can manage to put this on here without making an arse of myself. There we are. I knew I should have worn the glasses. Still. There we are. That's on. Okay. Now we can change that any time. So you can have various different sizes of minnow and colours of minnow set up as you want. Now, fishing with this, the idea is you cast out and the weight lands on the bottom of the riverbed and it stays there. The minnow, which in this case is a floating minnow, floats off downstream, gets to the end of the leader, hopefully does not shift the lead, and sits there spinning like a dervish, going mad. And see how that flashes? Isn't that lovely? Marvellous. Okay, so flashing lure, 4 feet behind lead. Leave it there for 10, 15, 20 seconds. Lift the rod tip, the weight comes off the bottom, swings round in the flow, you let it go slack, it settles down after a couple of feet, and the lure swings round in the flow below it. Simple really, but that's how you set it up. Okay, so without getting in the tangle, main line to weight that sits on riverbed, swivel, clip. Don't have to have a clip, you can just tie off to a swivel if you've got one of these with just 2 swivels. Just means you have to cut it if you want to change it. That runs through to the minnow, which is downstream and spinning like a lunatic and annoying a salmon, hopefully. Anyway, that's that. Simple really. There are other ways of doing it. Some people prefer, instead of using a WYE lead, they will have a 3-way swivel with the main line coming to the swivel, the same setup here to the minnow, but then they'll have a breakaway section of line here, 6-8 inches long, to a lead. The idea being, if that lead gets caught, you can snap it off and you don't lose your lure. But with this method, they're quite streamlined. You very rarely, if ever, get the weight snagged on anything. It'll be the minnow that gets caught, or the hook anyway. So there we are. This is a nice streamlined way of fishing, so when you hook a salmon and it's fighting and you're playing it, you haven't got things dangling off it other than a big fish. Simple. Is that it? Okay. And with that, I'm going to go fishing. See you later.